Hey everybody, we're back in the garden here today. I figured I'd pop in and do a quick update. It's been about a month since I did my last update. Well, since I last recorded a video of the update. I think I uploaded only like 2 weeks ago. But anyway, so it's a month later and we're going to check out some of the things here in the garden. There's a lot of stuff flowering and a lot of growth happening, so let's check it out and see where things stand. So as you can see here, the squash plants are really taking off. They're kind of getting out of control actually, which is what you want to see. This is a marigold right here, just to add some color to the garden, but you kind of can't see it because it's covered up here. Anyway, so you can see these guys are flowering real good and they're putting out some fruit here now. These are the female flowers, which are also, you can see they're the beginning of the what will be a squash if it gets pollinated. I believe these are pollinated, to be honest, but I'm not really sure of that, so time will tell. And as time goes on, I'm going to try to get in here in the evenings and hand pollinate some of these as well. So this guy looks pretty fresh, and there's some more coming out over here or so. So on squash plants there are female flowers. Look, this one didn't get pollinated. It's starting to shrivel up. Yeah, and it just fell off, you see. But usually what happens with squash, in my experience, is that the vines will grow and then it'll start putting out a lot of female flowers, which will eventually flower and become the fruit or the squash that you harvest. And then there's usually a lag between that and these male flowers here. So, you know, if you're leaving it to nature, bees or some sort of pollinator will have to come by, get the pollen off the male flower, and then pollinate the female flower, which sometimes doesn't happen because sometimes they just can't get to them, or they don't see the flowers because the leaves are growing over them. So I try to remove those as much as I can strategically, so you can get, you know, so the bees can get easy access to the flowers and see them. But like I said, usually what happens is there's a bit of a lag between the female flowers and the male flowers, but eventually they'll catch up and work itself out. So I'm happy if I get like probably 2 or 3 squash off of a plant, but you can easily get more than that as well. Here's a male flower that's open. There's some down here. I'm going to prune this leaf out of the way so you can see that a bit better. And you can see in the rows here in between, I've got some carrots planted, and those are doing great. They're actually at a point now where I don't have to water them as much, because I was in here like every night watering these because they were so small and things were so dry. So they're on their own now. The new cabbage beds are looking pretty good. These are growing great. This one looks like it's cracked off, so I'll probably put a new one in there. And there's a little bit of bug damage on some of these, but hopefully not enough that actually matters. But otherwise, they're growing great, so I'm really happy with that. This tomato plant here is going excellently. This is one plant, and you can see in here we've actually got some small tomatoes starting to form, which is awesome to see. And this is you know, for all you nerds out there, this is a bush variety of tomato plant, because generally there's 2 varieties: a bush type, which grows like this, and then there's a vining type, which are called this is the technical term is a determinate plant, and the other plants are called indeterminate, and those are vining plants, and they will continuously grow as long as the season is warm enough and continue to put out new fruit. These ones are bush plants or determinate plants, and they've got like a main stem, which you can see down here. Then they put out all these suckers off of the main stem, and then the suckers put out suckers like right here, and they all become a big plant, and you get a pretty big yield off of it. And like there's a common thing that people say, like if you do a bit of research on like how to grow tomatoes, people say to prune the determinate plants and prune the suckers off and stuff. But I don't think that's a great idea, because you can just let them grow, and then from one plant you'll get a huge harvest. It's different with a vining type, because you want the main vine to be the main plant, But with these things, I wouldn't prune the suckers off. You get way more from one plant and you're really only just diminishing your own harvest, so it doesn't make much sense to me. But that's what the rules say if you are a rule follower. I'm not, so I'm not going to do that. I'm taking up some of these beets here, which were growing good, but I'm pretty sure some field mice or maybe rabbits or something got in underneath my my mesh here and kind of ate them, so that kind of sucks. It's partially my fault for not securing it properly enough, but whatever. You live and learn, and I won't make that mistake again. But anyway, in the meantime, I had some carrots planted here, and a couple came up, but wasn't really a great germination. So I'm going to replant a couple, and let's see how that goes. And in this row right here, I'm going to pop in some broccoli plants that I've got started, just to utilize this space. And these beets here are also pretty similar. They're pretty damaged and stuff, so I'm gonna haul those up as well and put down some broccolis. And some of these onions and stuff are doing pretty good, but they're a little bit slow growing, but I'm gonna leave them anyway. I might be able to fit another broccoli plant in right here next to this Swiss chard. My plan was to be able to harvest these onions and then pop the broccoli plants that I've got going on into the ground, but my timing is a little bit off, so now I'm in a situation where my onions aren't quite done, though they're doing good. As you can see, they're starting to bulb, but my broccoli plants are like way too big to be kept inside any longer, so I'm kind of in a predicament here now, what I'm going to do with them. I don't want to waste them, so I'm just going to try and find areas in my beds where I can pop them in, maybe do some containers or whatever. I'm going to give some to a friend of mine in return for some he has ducks and like birds and stuff, so he's going to give me some duck bedding, which is basically just manure and I said that very weird, hey? It was just manure and straw or like hay or something. And then later on in the fall, I'll just put that on these beds and it'll break down and feed the soil and stuff. So it's a pretty good trade-off, I think. And he'll get some broccoli out of it. But the bulbs are looking good. Another couple of weeks and I'll start to be able to hollow those out. And the carrot germination here is not great, as you can see. There's a lot of bare patches. I replanted a bunch every now and then. Some pop up. These are really small ones, so these actually came up pretty good. That one's growing there. It's one carrot. These rows are a little bit better, so I'm okay with that as well. But you know, could be better. And some of these beds are doing good. There's also onions in here. It might be hard to see through the screen, but there's onions in there, and there's random potato plants popping up everywhere because I grew potatoes in this bed last year. And obviously I didn't get them all out. But I'm gonna leave them there, let them flower, let them do their thing. This one just started growing like a couple of weeks ago, whereas some of the other ones have been growing like all summer, so kind of weird. I've also got beet in here as well. Some more beet, and these ones are a little bit more secured, hopefully, so hopefully nothing's gonna get in and eat those. These are actually a golden beet, so instead of being red inside, they're like yellow. So I've never had them before, but it'd be cool to try them out, see what they taste like. And much of the same over here. And these are my tomato plants here. These guys are going crazy. And actually I'm gonna have to get into here and do some weeding, because when you got a lot of dense foliage and stuff like this, it prevents airflow, and then you can get like blight, and you know, moisture builds up on the leaves and it doesn't evaporate, and then you get fungal diseases like blight, and it's not what you want really. So I'm going to put some effort into that. But we do have some tomatoes here, as you can see, so that's cool. So those, you know, another couple of weeks on those, and there's lots of flowers here as well. You can see those coming out, all kinds of flowers, so it's going to be a good harvest off of those guys. This plant here is really growing strong. It's a little bit out of control actually, but that's cool. Let nature do its thing. These are some other beds here I got. These are all purple beans, I believe, purple bush beans. So there's different kinds of beans as well that you can grow, and these are bush beans, so they'll only really get around this tall. Then they'll start like kind of falling over and putting out beans. These are the flowers, which will eventually turn into bean pods. So those will start producing beans like pretty shortly, probably like in like 2 weeks. But like we're probably 3 weeks away from a harvest. But those are coming along strong. And these are some radishes I got down here. I believe they're like Miyashagi Japanese daikon radish. So they're doing pretty good. I haven't harvested those yet, but I have harvested a bunch from over here. And I planted way too many, but that's a good thing, because sometimes pests and insects and stuff get in and eat them. But here's a good good specimen right here. That guy looks awesome. Then you get this guy here. Not so awesome. So that's doing great. Take those yellow leaves off because they're pretty much dead, and they attract a lot of pests and stuff, so try to minimize that. So yeah, that's kind of where the garden's at now. This elderberry plant is starting to flower and doing great. I cut this off in the spring, as you've seen in a previous video. I cut it down right here, and now it's a bunch of new growth and everything looks great. And here's my apple tree, one of my apple trees, next to these gigantic valerian plants here, which are slowly dying and going to seed. So we'll just let that happen. But the apple tree looks great. There's a lot of growth this year. I'm really happy with that. Here's some other various stuff. This is a pretty big oregano plant. We got some raspberries and stuff coming up over here, and random stuff growing through the fence. This thing is a weed. Is it? Yeah, I don't want that there. We got some thyme growing here. That's another raspberry coming out. Because the way raspberries grow is they, like you plant one plant, and then the next year they put out a bunch of runners. So like this, the parent plant is in here, but this new one is popping up right here. So they'll spread and kind of take over here, which can get out of control, but I'll keep it under control and, you know, trim it out of places where I don't want it, and all will be good. Some clover here, I don't want that. And these are anise hyssop. Planted some of these here as well. It's a nice flowering herb. It's also a medicinal herb, so that'll come in handy in the future. It's another oregano plant there, doing great. I've got some more hyssop planted in here randomly. And the cherry tree is doing excellent, growing really strong. Getting pushed about by the wind a little bit, but that's just how it goes. And this is the kiwi vine here, which is doing great. It's growing all up this piece of my fence right here. It's eventually going to run out of space, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it down, coming down this way or not. And I got all these other tendrils and stuff coming off of here. This guy's growing strong. So that's kind of impressive. It's really doing well. I'm gonna pop that guy back in here. And yeah, that's like growing really strong. So I'm super impressed with that. These are more hyssop and yarrow and some raspberries for this year. This one's trying to fruit, which is pretty funny. Well, whatever. They'll grow and spread more next year, so I'm not too worried. This is my apple tree here. This guy's my other apple tree. This is growing really well. I would have liked to have another branch on this side of the tree, like growing out this way. That didn't quite work out. But maybe next year I can encourage this branch here to grow a little bit more. But for now, and the garlic. Garlic's doing good. I trimmed off the scapes that you've seen in a previous video. And the tips are starting to die off here now. They're getting brown and dying. And Actually, this one right here is probably ready to harvest soon. There's a rule, once again with the rules, but there's a guideline that says, you know, your garlic is basically ready to harvest when you've got 3 brown leaves. So this is my first brown leaf, this is my second, and the third one is kind of dying off there now. But not all the plants are at that stage. So this one is just, only has 1 leaf that's dying off. So they're all in various states of growth at the moment. So I'm gonna leave these for another like 3 weeks probably. And this is where I had hoped to put some of my broccoli plants and stuff in amongst these, but I don't think I can wait 3 weeks, unfortunately. But I might try to plant some in amongst them, do like an interplanting. Probably put one here and like put it in between and see what happens. So this is what I'm working with here now. So these plants are quite large. And they're getting a little bit too big to be inside. So these ones are going to be going in the garden today somewhere. But anyway, so that's cool. Now I know that you can get away with planting broccoli really early in the year. So I think next spring, I put it out around the middle of May, I think, or early part of May this year. And depending on what the spring is like next year, I could probably even have them ready to go out mid-April and put the roll cover and stuff over it. So I think I'm gonna do that, so then I can get like one massive crop of broccoli. And then when I take the broccoli up in like you know, late June, early July, then I can use those spaces in the gardens to plant carrots and stuff. So then I can follow up the broccoli with carrots, and then let the carrots grow throughout the summer, and they'll mature and be able to harvest in like October, later part of October and stuff, when it starts to get cool. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do that. So it was a little bit of a learning experience here this year. I didn't quite know what I was doing when I started getting into gardening, and still figuring it out. I've got stuff figured out insofar as I can plant stuff and it grows well, but just to utilize the space to its fullest potential, so I'm not wasting areas and planting stuff that's not going to grow in time. So, but it's only my 3rd year and I think I'm doing pretty good. So, and one last thing is this whole area right here, right over to the apple tree. My initial plan, I'm going to put a bed there. My initial plan was to just put that new bed right there and have that space and call that my garden. But this is prime space over here. It gets a lot of sun. It gets the morning sun, which is great, because right now when the sun comes up, it kind of comes up over there and then it's blocked by all of those trees for a little bit. Everything except this corner of this bed and where the garlic is gets like morning sun, and then it's not till like 10 o'clock in the evening where the sun, sorry, not in the evening, but 10 o'clock in the morning when the sun gets over this way, that the rest of the beds get hit. So if I built a bed here 4 or 5 feet wide by like 15 feet or however long it is to get down to that apple tree, that'd be a wicked growing space, especially early on in the year. So that's potentially going to be my broccoli bed for the spring. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed visiting the garden, checking it out, what's on the go in here. It's July 28th, I believe. So we're about midway through the summer. We got another 2 months probably of growing season left. So things will start fruiting now. Those tomatoes will ripen, squash will grow. So maybe in another couple of weeks we'll check back and do an update and see where things are. But if you got to this point in the video, thanks for watching, and you know, like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff if what I'm doing is of any interest to you. And yeah, thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed. Until next time.